assignment, you're going to fill in some sample metadata, and we're going to go take a look at the spreadsheet in just a second. A couple of things before we do that. It's okay to make up items if you don't know them. Some of you have actual collections you're working with. Some of you have hypothetical collections you're working with. Some of you are borrowing a collection, theoretically speaking, from a nearby institution or organization. My recommendation if you're making up items is to pick a few different things that will challenge you to create different types of metadata, so that you get the exercise of writing metadata for several different types of things. I'm not going to know if you're making up things, so do the best you can with them. There are a few required fields in the spreadsheet: title, subject, and you're going to use the Library of Congress subject headings for that. Type, which I'll show you, and then rights. A rights statement, a standardized rights statement, is something that we didn't talk about a ton in the obtain permissions section of the toolkit, but they're pretty standard, no pun intended, to figure out. So there's some examples in the spreadsheet, or you can go read through that section in the toolkit about standardized rights statements, and that will explain a little bit what they are. I do want to see the file name that you come up with, which again is going to be different than the title, because I want to see your file naming convention. And I had originally posted a worksheet to have you fill out what your file naming convention is going to be, and I actually took that out, and I just want to see it in this metadata spreadsheet. All of the other metadata fields, just do your best. The more effort you put into it, the more you're going to learn, I think. And if you don't have the information for the rest of the metadata fields, that's just fine. So here's what that spreadsheet looks like. You're going to download this spreadsheet and let me know if you need it in some format other than Excel. And you're going to fill in these fields, fill in 5 of them for me, with items in your digital collection. So there's some instructions here, and there's an example for each thing. I would like to see a title that you come up with for each thing, creator if you know it, date if you know it, using the format that is listed here, a description, and really just do your best with this. We're not talking a ton about how to write descriptions, but keep in mind, considerations and everything else you've learned in this segment, module, lesson, week. Subject is that thing that we just talked so much about with the Library of Congress subject headings. Place, if you know it. Type comes from here's a way to use a controlled vocabulary, is a drop-down menu. So there's only a few types in here. I believe I have it set up so that you can enter free text if you have a different type, but try to use one of those if you can. Format, again, this comes from a drop-down menu, or if you'd like to see the whole thing, there's a second tab here that gives you the format, type, and standardized rights statements list if you would like to see that. Most language, I think, for digital collections, if you have text is written or spoken language in audio or video, a lot of times it's English for the collections that we're working with, but you can use a different language if you would like to, if that applies. A submitter is usually the library or organization that you're working with. If that doesn't really apply here, it can be your name, it can be your family's name, or you can just leave this blank if you'd like. You can name your own collection here. This is where the standardized rights statement goes, and this is really just a way to indicate what you know about the rights of the material in a way that has the same language as everybody else who's using standardized rights statements. Then there's also a natural language field that talks a little bit about your specific situation with the access rights here, and this is usually a copy and paste down the line for all of the materials in a particular collection, but sometimes not. And this is where you can put things like, family has granted permission to digitize and use, maybe only with permission or with attribution, whatever the case may be. Feel free to just sort of take a guess at this, and I can give you some feedback on it. But this is where you'd put your organization specific material about access rights. And then this is where I'd like to see the file name that you come up with so I can see what your file naming convention looks like. That's it for this week. Please let me know if you've got any questions. The discussion sections are optional for this week because this is a lot of information for you to read about and try to figure out on your own. There's also a bunch of lecture information this week. So feel free to chime in on the discussion if you would like, but it's not required for this week. And there's so much information that if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks and have a good week.